All right, let's move to the next topic. It's called the secret ingredient. And I got a topic from Kung Fu Panda, that great cartoon where his dad has the secret ingredient soup. The secret ingredient, my friends, is attitude. Winston Churchill said it's the little thing that makes a big difference. Earl Nightingale did a program called The Magic Word, which was attitude, and talks about how attitude affects everything we do in life. Someone said the only disability in life is a bad attitude. Now, attitude affects everything we do. It affects the way we look at life. It affects the way we look at the world and how we live among each other. Now, attitude is that major determining factor in life. It creates the lens through which you and I see the world and which we see our life. Viktor Frankl, who was a psychologist and was involved in what happened around World War II in the concentration camp, he was in there observing men that were in the concentration camp. And he found that attitude of mind was the only thing that they could not take away. He observed men who were starving, who still had a great attitude, and would take that half a slice of stale bread and share it with those around him. You cannot take away attitude. You and I have absolute 100% control of what goes on in here. And that absolutely affects what goes on outside of us. William James said, "The greatest discovery of our time is that men and women can change the attitude of mind and thereby change their outer circumstances." George Bernard Shaw said, "I do not believe in circumstances. The men and women who get on in this world are those who get up in the morning and look for the circumstances they want, and if they cannot find them, they make them." My daughter is a great example. Is 3 years old. And in October of 2010, we were in a car accident. And she was at the point of impact and broke her femur, just snapped it. And they put her in a body cast for 6 weeks. I was instructed and taught by my 3-year-old. As she showed me what a positive attitude can do. And she was in a cast from her chest down both legs. And so she would lay there on the ground and she would drag herself with her elbow. And no complaining. Just roll with it. And when she wanted to go somewhere, she'd get her little elbow until they were raw and just drag herself through the house. And just has had a great attitude and been so patient. And made me think, wow, how would I respond to being confined to my back or to my belly in a full body cast? And her attitude has been a great example to me. And there's many others. Great stories from the Bible. Jonah is an example of a bad attitude, where he didn't want to do what the Lord had asked him to do, and so he runs off and creates all those negative circumstances. Then when he gets to Nineveh and has the success he's looking for, he's still negative. At the end, he's sitting under the gourd complaining and whining and still has this bad attitude. There are others like Joseph in Egypt, that great story from the book of Genesis, where he has the negative, horrible things happen to him. His brothers sell him into slavery. He goes to Potiphar. And it doesn't say, hey, and it came to pass that Joseph had a great attitude. But the Lord was with him, and he was a goodly person, it says. And you can tell he had a great attitude because wherever he went, whether it was Potiphar's house or thrown into prison later, or wherever he was, he had a great attitude, and that affected everything around him. And he rose from those negative circumstances to the higher ones where he really wanted to be. That made all the difference. It made all the difference. And in the end, he ended up next to Pharaoh. See, there's great attitudes all around us. And we can learn from those attitudes. There's also negative attitudes all around us. So attitude can affect very many things in our life. One of the main things it affects is our self-concept. Your attitude affects your self-concept, your confidence, your esteem, how you feel about yourself, how you think others view you. How's your attitude? Is it positive, negative? It also affects our perspective. Again, like I mentioned earlier, attitude creates the lens through which we see the world. Now, if that lens is dark and depressing, and we see everything through that dark lens, it's going to affect the way we act, the way we think, the way we live. But what if that lens is great? What if it's clear and bright? And we can see others and the world and ourselves with a positive mental attitude. You see how that'll change things? That'll make the biggest difference in everything we do, in everything we say. And it can affect our emotions and our feelings. And we're going to talk about that a little more later. You know, there's that saying that the grass is greener on the other side of the fence. Well, maybe it is greener. Maybe that guy's got a good attitude about his place and he's watering it more. He's taking care of it. There's a little sunshine over there because of his attitude. Maybe he fertilizes it with his failures and with his hard work. And he's got a good attitude about what's happening. And if we sit there and we mope and we got a rain cloud over our heads, well, it's so terrible. My life is this and others did this to me and that and nothing ever goes my way. Then what we think about, we bring about. An attitude can make us and shape us. It's powerful. It's very powerful. Think about that. So, do we have a Pollyanna attitude? Play the glad game? Is that naive to do that? Not at all. Not at all. We look for the best in everything that happens. We look for the best in others. What we look for, we see, we find, we create. It's not naive, it's wonderful. Let's have a positive mental attitude and we'll get what we expect. We have a choice, my friends. That's what's so important. You and I have a choice. We can choose to look for the best or we can choose to look for the worst. And we will find and see what we look for. If we have a choice, let's choose to be positive. Let's get rid of the negative, the pessimism. Let's eliminate those things from our lives. And those sources of negativity from others and from media or wherever it comes from. Let's decide that even in a world full of negative people, in a world full of pessimists, we can be optimists. We can decide. It's a choice. We can have a great attitude. We can stand up and smile in a room full of frowners. Okay? No whining, no complaining. Those are foreign languages in which we are not fluent. All right? Let's make that choice. Let's make that decision to be positive. How do you look at your failures? How do you look at your setbacks? How do you look at your disappointments? Do you fall down and stay down, or do you fall down and get back up? A failure is fertilizer if we have a great attitude about it. And we use it to drive us forward, to learn. We make a mistake and say, well, that's another way how not to do it. Or we fail at something, I'm throwing in the towel, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. That's not the way to live. We're all going to make mistakes, we're all going to fail, and we got to fail forward. One great successful man said, they asked him, what's the greatest and fastest way to success? He said, increase your rate of failure. You can't do that without a great positive mental attitude. You got to move forward. So Ken Key said, to be upset over what we don't have is to waste what we do have. See that great positive mental attitude? Focus on the good. Focus on the good things we have. Don't focus on the lack. And if you want something, go for it with a positive mental attitude. To a large degree, the things that we get bothered by, the things that bother us, the things that throw us down and set us back, to a large degree, that's a measurement of how we are progressing in our personal development. Think about that for a minute. What bothers you? Are you bothered by small things? Do you have a negative attitude if somebody cuts you off or does something wrong or things don't work out the way you thought they might? Does it just throw you off your game? And it's totally negative and you get down and depressed and dark? How do you respond to things? How do you measure up? Now, I'm not trying to make us feel bad here. I'm trying to help us see that a positive mental attitude will get us past all the struggles and trials and challenges and setbacks and failures. And if we take them as stepping stones, then we can grow and progress. I read a great quote that says, you got to take the bricks that people throw at you and build your dreams with them. Too often we take that brick and you just fall down. You're done. You throw it in. You give up. Some people even take the brick and hit themselves. That's just crazy. We have 100% control over our emotions. People can't make us mad. We have the choice. We have the power. We can choose to respond because of our attitude. We're not victims. We're not pawns. We just have to react. We can choose. We have a choice. Many are eager to change their circumstances, but unwilling to change themselves. Many are eager to change their circumstances, but unwilling to change themselves. That's like looking in the mirror, right? You're going to look in the mirror, and you look in there, and you don't like what you see. Maybe you're having a bad hair day, or you don't like your outfit, and you blame it on the mirror. It's not the mirror. It's not the mirror. You can't look in the mirror and blame the mirror. You can't look at your external circumstances and blame them. It all starts inside. It all goes with what's happening here. The great fable from Aesop called The Fox and the Grapes. The fox comes along, sees grapes on the trellis, and they're up above him, and he's jumping and trying to reach them, and he can't get them. Well, in the end, he just says, well, I thought the grapes were ripe, but now I see they're just rotten. And he walks off with a bad attitude, blaming the grapes. It's not the grapes, people. It's not the grapes. It was the way he went about it. And he couldn't get them by his small efforts, and so he throws in towel.